my booktube friends. Welcome or welcome back. I'm Kendra. This is Readworthy, and if you keep seeing me, that means you should subscribe to me if you haven't already. So just go do that right now. Woohoo! I'm here once again to talk about books, as I always am, and today is going to be all about my August wrap up. I'm pretty sure this is going to come out pretty late. I've got a lot of videos that I've made that still need to be edited and put out, but it's coming out. So whenever this is coming out, hello. We're going to talk about the books that I read this month. I got quite a stack, so let's get started. First book that I read was to do with the Buzzwordathon that is on Goodreads, and the word had to do with an object in the title. Okay, could be any kind of object you want it to be. Mine was bird or box, either object, because it's bird box. And this is a novella. It's actually made into a Netflix film. Hate those stickers. Anyway, this is about a woman. There's two timelines. The first timeline is the woman and these two kids, and they are trying to get to what they hope to be is a safe place. And then the other timeline is how that woman pretty much got to where she's at in that timeline, right? Kind of like a monster kind of a horror book. It deals with the fact that they have to not see anything. Like they can't, if they go out in the world past, their shelters or what have you, that they can't have they can't use their eyes. They all should be pretty much blind. There's something out there, of course they don't know what it is because they've not actually seen it, because if you see it, you want to kill yourself. So, and that's what happens. It's apparently a worldwide kind of a thing that's happening. The past timeline is that situation escalating, and then the present is, like I said, of her trying to get to what she considers a safe spot with these two kids. I gave this book a 4 stars. The reason I didn't give it the full 5 is because I felt like because they kept flip-flopping back and forth between the present and the past timelines, and because they do that, who is in the present timeline, who it is. So it's like, who's not there from the past. So something happens, right? And I feel like the intense moments that are happening in the past timelines could have been so much more if you had no clue what was going to happen. I mean, you don't technically have a clue how it's going to happen. It's just that the outcome for certain characters because they're in the present timeline. So it's like, well, thank you for that spoiler. But that's pretty much the only thing that critique I had about this book. It was very, very well written, and the pacing was amazing, mainly because it's a novella. Actually, I have watched the Netflix version of this before I even read the book, and it's just as good. The next book that I read was for a book club pick, and that would be Amari and the Night Brothers. This is a middle grade book, and it is about a girl whose brother went up missing, and so people pretty much assume that he's dead. They haven't found his body or anything. He hasn't came around. So because of that, she has not lost faith. She believes that her brother is still there somewhere in the world and just needs help. So anyway, after the disappearance of her brother, a society, I guess you could call it, comes to her and gives her a opportunity, kind of like a Harry Potter kind of a situation where she has no idea what's going on or what's happening. Everything's new to her. She didn't even know stuff of this society or this magic exists. And so she's like, it's all like brand new and new eyes. And you experience that as the reader, that, her experiencing it for the first time. You get to experience it for the first time. And so it's kind of like a camp almost that she's going to. And she gets to find out that she's extremely special. It was really, really good. I enjoyed it, especially being that it's middle grade. I gave this a 4-star. It's a middle grade, so I mean it's not like it's like epic or anything at the moment, but it's got a great potential. It's got a lot of connections to like Harry Potter. Like there's a lot of or you know, any other of the Chosen One tropes, and so that's been done a lot. So you know that kind of takes away from it a little, but it is very good. I enjoyed it immensely, and I will continue with the series. Okay, so the next book that I read was also to do with a book club pick, and that was called Things We Do in the Dark. This is a thriller, and it is about, this also has 2 timelines. In one timeline, a very young wife is married to an older retired comedian, and she ends up pretty much kind of like waking up from a haze, and she has like almost like a knife or like a straight razor and in her hand, and there's blood all over the place, and her husband's laying dead in the bathtub. The other timeline is about, actually, there's multiple timelines. There is a timeline to do with a horrible mother and a little girl, and her little girl pretty much trying to survive her mother's lifestyle. And then there's another timeline of that little girl grown up a little bit and trying to, I guess you could say, be normal. She experienced a lot. And so to the point where her mother got arrested. So unfortunately did not have the best growing up experience, and therefore is not in the best mind space at this timeline that you're reading from. And this was very, very good. I ended up giving this book a 4 stars. And I really enjoyed it, which is not surprisingly. I've read Jennifer Hiller's work before, and I enjoyed it before, and this is not any different. There was a couple of things in here that I think was supposed to be like big shocking reveals, and they weren't to me. Like I figured it out pretty quickly. I'm not going to tell you what those are, because that would be spoiling for you, wouldn't it? So, but I do suggest reading this. It's good stuff. Okay, so another book that I read is called What Moves the Dead. I auto-booked this book, and I've already said this before, but I mean, this is a really ugly cover. I'm sorry, it is. It makes perfect sense after reading the book, and I definitely still want to own this book because it was fantastic. I gave it 5 stars. I guess you could call it horror. It was a kind of like a retelling of an Edgar Allan Poe story. The story was called The Fall of the House of Usher. It was fantastic. I enjoyed it. I think I already said this, but I gave it 5 stars. I really liked it. It was a book club pick. Otherwise, I had never heard of this, let alone even heard of the author, which I read another one from this author already this month in September, and I liked that one too. I mean, it was fantastic. It was great stuff. I'm glad that was introduced to me through this book club, because otherwise I would never have picked out this book. So after that, I went ahead and I've already there's already 2 postings, but there's going to be more postings because there's many parts to the reading vlog that I decided to do which was book versus movie battle, and I did it with Stephen King books. This go around. So this new little thing I'm trying out. See what you guys think of it. Let me know. And I read 3 books. My thoughts on those books are very well talked about in those videos. So you should go see those videos if you have not already. I read, the very first one that I read was Stephen King's Misery. And then I read Stephen King's Pet Sematary and Stephen King's Firestarter. So I gave this one a 4, I gave this one a 4, and then I gave this one a 5. This by far was my favorite. Obviously I gave it a 5 out of the 4. But it's by far, words, Kendra, by far my favorite Stephen King it was way back when I read it for the very, very first time when I was a teenager, and it still is very much so. It's fantastic. I love this book. And if you want my thoughts on those books at all, you should watch those videos and you'll see them. So another book that I went ahead and picked up, I like Greek mythology a lot. I don't know, like, I'm not like, I didn't study it in college or anything, so I'm not like somebody who's like knows everything and anything about Greek mythology, but I know the very basics of Greek mythology. And so when everyone recommended this long ago, Madeline Miller's books, I went ahead and picked up her first one, which was Circe. I liked this book. I ended up giving this a 4 stars. It does drag a little now and then, but it's nothing to like stop reading, that's for sure. If you don't know anything about Greek mythology, that's fine. I feel like you could still pick this up and it's a tale about a woman. But I liked it. I liked it a lot. And this tale being told I think it's needed. Because they're mentioned in this book, but like I said, you don't have to know these people to enjoy this book. I didn't know too much about Circe going in. I knew who she was and where she came from in the aspect of like other characters, but her tale being told, I felt like did wonders in this book. So if you have any at all like interest in Greek mythology, this is a good place to start. So the next book that I picked up was a Book of the Month pick. How lucky. I think this was Book of the Month pick last year. I think this is one of my first Book of the Month picks. Oh, May of 2021. What does that tell you? Yeah, so this is a Book of the Month pick from May of last year. I'm just now picking it up. It doesn't matter. So anyway, I really liked this. Well, okay, I didn't say really like. I liked this book. It's kind of, I don't know what you would describe this. Humorous mystery. Okay, so this book was about it's mainly from one man's, it is from one man's point of view. There's other characters, but he has SMA, a disability. He lives independently as much as he can. He only has access to one of his hands that he uses for his wheelchair and to speak, because he doesn't really have access to his mouth too much. Like he does, but it's not enough to really communicate with people. So he has like he types and it talks for him. So he has a job that he works from home from. He has caretakers that come in and kind of like do a little loop of people that come in and take care of him throughout the day and night. So during one of his work days, he is a witness to a kidnapping. He watches a woman or a girl, a college kid, go into a car, and then she gets reported as missing the following day. And so he tries to get that taken care of, like get his experience of the situation out to the public. And then he also does a little mystery digging himself. And there's humor in this book. There really is. And the way that the book is told is very, very entertaining. This is a great way for the author to have gotten information out about SMA. It's more about that and not so much about the kidnapping. It's just like the kidnapping is literally playing second fiddle compared to his condition. And so when I went into this, I was expecting a mystery, and really what I got was more of a documentary. Well, obviously, there are people out there with this, condition. It's just that when I went into this book, I was expecting the mystery part, the kidnapping part, because it's all that's talked about in this book. I mean, the condition is talked about in the synopsis and all that, but the main thing was about the kidnapping, and so that's why I thought the main story was going to be about, and it really isn't. Not only is it not, but it seemed like the author was like, oh crap, yeah, there was like that kidnapping. Okay, I'll go ahead and get that taken care of. So I gave this book 3 stars. It's still good. I still recommend it. It's just, holy crap moments or anything like that by any means. So I picked up another Book of the Month. I talked about this in my September TBR, But I'm trying to get as many books from Book of the Month read for some kind of goal that Book of the Month has created. And so I'm trying to get as many books as I can read before the year ends. Good God. And this is no obsession. So I did Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. And I gave this book a 4 stars. I really liked it. I know why. I could see why a lot of people, this doesn't have that high of a rating on Goodreads, but I think it's because a lot of people went in, it's supposed to be a thriller, and a lot of people went in expecting thrilling moments, and they're there, but they're at the very end. And really, it's about, there are 6 people that end up on this island, and really it's a story about who these people are and how they become the people that they are when they get to this island, okay? Like their character development and so forth and so on. And so, and how they pretty much got to this island. Like, that's really what it's about. And then in the end, it's like, you know, pretty much a bomb goes off once they're at this island and things start really happening. I can see why people are like, this is not a thriller. And it kind of really isn't. I don't know. I would say it's more like a mystery, but that's not really true either. So I'm not, I guess, mystery thriller. I really liked it though, because I liked reading about these characters and what made them tick and what made them become the people that they are at the end. And so it didn't bother me at all. I enjoyed the ride. Let's say that. So I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. And so the next book that I read is, shocker, I know, but it's Book of the Month pick. And it's called The Hunting Wives by Mary Cobb. And I loved this book. Like, I loved it so much I gave it 5 stars. Which is also going to be shocking because if you look at Goodreads at the ratings, this is not the greatest rated book by any means. But I freaking read this like nobody's business. I know you really can't tell, but there's all kinds of like tabs in this book all over the place because this was entertaining. This was a ride, let me tell you. But her name is Sophia, is the main character, and she ends up moving back pretty much into like almost like her hometown. Like she grew up at this place, and she was from Chicago, and she's trying to get like a more settled, relaxed life. She has a husband now. She has a child, a son, a little boy. And so she's just, you know, trying to live the suburban life. And then she gets bored pretty dang quickly. And then she meets a clique of married housewives. And the main girl's name is Margot? Margot? We'll go with Margot. And she is crazy. But she apparently is crazy in a good way that she just like sucks up everyone's attention. She is just like one of those people that like, you know, she's the head honcho, the head girl. And they like get together whenever this woman decides they're going to get together. They get together and they shoot off shotguns in the middle of this big, huge open field. They decided to, you know, bring in Sophia as part of the newest member. Stuff happens, man. Let me tell you, there is killing, and there is deception, and there is, like I said, craziness, and there is all kinds of trigger warnings as well. So you might want to look into that before you read this book because they're there. But it was a wild, crazy ride, and I really, really enjoyed it, which is why I gave this book 5 stars. I liked it a lot. And I know that she came out with the one, My Little Darlings, I think it was called. And I'm definitely going to pick that up and read it because, like I said, this was a very entertaining book and I enjoyed myself immensely reading it. So then I picked up a book that is, again, Book of the Month. And this is The Lifestyle that I didn't love so much. I gave this book 3 stars. This is about a woman who is married and thinks that life is just fine and dandy, and then she catches her husband cheating on her, like literally in the act. And so to fix this situation and this problem, she decides do the lifestyle, which is swinging. And she gets her husband to agree with this, and then also when a couple of her really, really close friends find out that she's going to do this, they decide they want to do it too. And so she has one set of friends who are living together. They're not married, but one of those set the woman of that set of friends is actually knows all about this whole lifestyle and has done it more than once, and so has no problem getting her the connections that she needs to do it as well. And then the other side is her married friends, and they've been married for quite a bit since college, and they have kids, and the wife feels like they are in a big, huge rut, and so she's hoping that this will do something for them. The main character, I hated her. Like, and I'm not supposed to hate her. Like, I'm pretty sure when they tell you that the wife gets cheated on, and like it's like almost like she finds herself and she like has no apologies, like I'm supposed to cheer that on, right? But like I don't, not even a little. I didn't know this until I went into Goodreads to put in my review, but apparently this is supposed to be a retelling of Emma. It's not. I don't know if you know this or not, but Emma, Jane Austen's Emma, is got nothing to do with swinging. The only retelling part is that the main character, Georgina, she likes to dabble into like coupling people up the way she thinks that they should be together. So for instance, the married couple that have been married since college, she feels like they shouldn't belong together, and that the guy that belongs over here with this woman who is already swinging, who's living with this woman, they really should break up, and they should break up, and that woman from that relationship and that man from that relationship, they really should be together instead. And so she like has all these like judgment thoughts about that stuff all the time throughout this book, and it's freaking annoying, and I hated it. And I enjoyed Emma. I kind of found it a little boring because that really is the only thing that's going on in that book is Emma trying to connect people all over the place. But in this one, it was like she's a bitch. I didn't like her at all, and I could have cared less what happened to her in the end, whether she fixed things with her husband or what have you. Like she ends up, and this is told in the synopsis, so this is not any kind of like spoiler alert, but she ends up with, when they go to this lifestyle, like connection of friends, like all these people, this group, one of the people that are in this group, one of the guys, is her old college boyfriend from like way back's way. And apparently this man still is completely 100% in love with her. I mean, he had his whole life, and he had his wife and all this other stuff, but it was nothing compared to this woman, and he just can't believe that they are able to talk to each other again, and so it's almost like a triangle for this woman, okay? And it's just, she sucked. She sucked a lot. The reason I gave it 3 stars, though, is because every single character that revolved around Georgina, every other character that's mentioned in this book, is fantastic for one reason or the other. Even the husband. Okay? I liked them all. I liked all the other characters. Even if the character was just flat off like vanilla ice cream boring, I still liked them because they knew that they were vanilla ice cream boring. Is that a way to describe a character? I hope so. So I liked every other character in this book. They made the book what it was because she did not. She sucked. I hate her. I want nothing to do with her. But it still got 3 stars out of me because everyone else pretty much saved this book other than her. Oh, and the swinging part of that book, like that's just like in the background. So if you're like going in thinking, oh, this is going to be spicy, it really isn't. Not really. I mean, there's spice, but it's like, a little pepper sprinkled in. It's nothing to go home and go, woof, this is raunchy. Nothing like that at all. So the last book that I read was called Salt to the Sea. This is a historical fiction. I really enjoy that category, and so I thought it was time for me to go ahead and pick one up. This has got great ratings. I picked this one up. It is about an actual true shipwreck that happened back in World War II with a ship called Wilhelm Gustaf. That part is the true part, obviously, historical fiction, right? But it is told from 4 point of views, and those 4 point of views kind of like tell the story of like them getting on the boat, how that whole scenario happens, and then the boat, and then of course the wreck, because the Russian submarine torpedoed the crap out of the boat. And so it's like, I don't know how many passengers end up being on this boat, but it is well over as many as it's supposed to have. And so it is extremely tragic situation that happened, and I had no idea about this wreck, like not even a little bit. So that part was like a big eye-opener, I guess you could say. Let alone the fact that the 4 point of views, like coming from each point of view that it comes from, it's just, it was told so well. It was told so well. I ended up giving this book 5 stars. Obviously, I guess you could say I really enjoyed my experience reading this book. I definitely got what I wanted out of this book, that's for sure. And this pretty much proves my point of why I enjoy historical fiction so much, because every book that I've picked up, historical fiction-wise, is always something that I always give it high ratings, because the impact that these books have are just so... The journey that these characters go on are just extremely heartbreaking. Extremely heartbreaking. Well, at least 3 of them out of the 4. One of them is actually told by one of the sailors that are on the boat, and he's a prick. But his side of the story is needed. It gave me an eye-opening historical tragedy that happened. The way it was told and the author's way of writing this book was fantastic. I really enjoyed it and I liked it. And if you at all want to do any kind of historical fiction, if you are a historical fiction reader, I'm surprised you haven't heard of this book. And if you haven't, you should pick it up. And if you're not, but you're kind of interested in reading something, this is definitely one of the books I would definitely suggest. And that's it. That's all I got. It's a lot of good books. I had a lot of good books this month. It was fantastic. A lot of 4 stars. I didn't have anything below a 3 stars. I had a good time. So hopefully September gives me the same kind of month. And I'll see you then. Bye.